Okay, so let me start out by saying that I need to renew my Gaia subscription. First and foremost, is very important. If you don't have that, I recommend you get that. You're gonna definitely need that at some point. It's quite advanced, similar to some of these other apps. Um, but it sort of adds an extra layer of metaphysics, or not even just metaphysics. It adds an extra layer of a lot of things that you need to know and be aware of. So yes, definitely need to get that again. It's definitely like an extra layer of protection in one sense or another, for things unknown that I can't really discuss at present moment in time. However, what I think is important, which is very difficult for most people to comprehend, is the concept of AAA, which is authentication, authorization, and accounting. And I think that people tend to mix those up in terms of like what order they are associated in. And so that's very important and valid. As above, so below. So within the microcosm, so it is in the microcosm. As it is in the macrocosm, so it is in the microcosm. Similar to this as well, in the whole dimensional aspect of things, is the concept of AAA. And within the scales of reality, which are defined in some aspects of things, though it's quite difficult to pick out which aspects these things are defined in. Basically, I think that people need to grasp this concept, because if they don't, then they're in for a rough ride. Because you really have to actually know that most of the things that we undertake in this reality and are governed, right? Most of the things that we undertake in this reality are governed. Even the things and the principles that we don't truly understand are still governed and are made known to us, or we're able to understand them by purpose of knowledge transfer, right? So transference and knowledge transference. So for example, right, in whatever case you may be, or whatever situation you may be, on whatever realm of existence, authentication, right, is key to understand who or what the entity is. So you see this like in when people are doing seances or exorcisms and things like that. They would actually start by asking the entity who it is. May I please know who I'm speaking to? What is this that's trying to reach in this realm? So that's definitely key. In most things, and there are multiple methodologies of authentication available to us as humans, not only as humans, as available to machine and spiritual entities as well, right? Then authorization is that you are allowed to to undertake a particular action, and if you are allowed, who's authorized you, and on what basis have you been authorized, right? And the granularity that can be taken in relation to that is quite extensive as well, depending on the realm of which you're operating in, and the attributes that you have been pretty much granted in relation to your authorization mechanisms. That's fucking key to everything, right? And that's very important. Though people can find in skill ways around that, but it also depends on what it is that you're trying to engage with, and in what manner you're trying to engage with that particular system, entity, or should I say organism, or just like aspect of things, right? And then there's accounting. So accounting counts for how the frequency maybe that you've utilized something, or it's basically a historic record, a record of a particular action or a particular thing, right? It's like a thing of being able to maintain a record of something. So that's triple A, which is very fundamental to everything. And I think that, this is very important because when people get into situations of, circumventing boundaries or trying to define something that or justify something, right? These things all come into play. So even when you think about heaven and hell and things of that nature, like, or even when you consider most concept, right? Even like concepts relating to a multitude of things. These things are used to manage and authorize etheric bodies, right? Um, and yeah, once you have this information, if you're wise and cunning, you can try to manipulate it to a certain degree. But there's just like, there's it's fucking complicated. It's like a bubbling sphere, or an unsettled sphere, right? Because when you try to change something in one realm, it impacts another, right? So if you try to change something in the physical realm, so let's say you try bypass some authorizations and you try to change um, one aspect of it. So maybe you change your appearance or something like that. So let's say that you're a chubby person and then you change your appearance to make yourself not look so chubby. In that instance, if you've changed that, right? But then again, when it comes to the aspect of things, like, can you maintain that, right? So like your eating habits will still be the same. You can make yourself appear one way, but then you're not actually able to meet particular requirements within the mental realm to behave and undertake yourself in particular action as that individual, that or as that entity that you are attempting to resemble yourself with as, right? So while you can change that authentication feature to say to make yourself look like as if something else, right? Maybe make yourself look hench or whatever. Yeah, make yourself, if you make yourself look hench, like getting pads or something or whatever the case may be, to make yourself look more toned, etc. um but then when it comes to the actual accounting of things, like, are you going to be able to actually react and behave as that actual entity mentally, not only mentally as well, but also like physically when put to the test, etc. um is one minor example, right? So you might not be able to lift as much weight as what you're appearing to be, right? And that's very dangerous. So basically, the mental bit and the physical bit, though you've managed to alter the authentication schema, they are counting as to the amount of weight that you might be able to move, etc. All that type of stuff will be a bit bizarre, and to be out of reach. And also your mental capacity as well. Like, would you have that mentality of somebody who's actually has those features and characteristics, which might not be the case, right? So there's like a level set between the authentication the triple A stuff, but also there's also like the dimensional side as to what dimension are we referring to, mental, physical, spiritual, right? So all those things are very key and are fundamental to know, and I think that when it comes to these things, right, there's always that concept of repentance is always something, but there's a limit to it, because yeah, there's a limit to repentance and things of that nature, because and we're all susceptible, and I don't want to make it sound like, it's people who are like this are bad, or people who are like we're all susceptible to this, right? We all have our emotions triggered in negative ways that we can't control sometimes. making us react in particular situations or react in particular ways or say particular things that we know might be right and might be justified and true, but maybe pointing them out at the wrong time is not the right thing to do, right? So that's always key as well. And you know, pity and all that type of stuff. Like, yeah, of course, somebody, just because that you're black, or because maybe you're a woman, or because maybe you have a particular impediment, all those things there are sort of not really factored in to the schematics of things, right? And it's quite difficult to portray, because yeah, like sometimes, like, it's difficult because even for me, I'm not able to be harsh and judging and you know punishing in a sense. Though it's not to say that I can't, but it's like I can't, like, or at least I'm not comfortable with that. It's not the most comfortable thing for me to do, regardless of the situation, right? So people would take advantage most of the time, but that's just creatures. That's how creatures are, right? People behave as creatures sometimes, and you know some creatures, some entities have that ability, and it's just for us to not look too deeply into it, maybe. Um, it's very complex, very difficult. Very complex and very difficult to put into words sometimes. But yeah, so at least that's how we make our judgments in this thing, and that's how we at least know that we're protected. And when we carry out actions, because even biologically, you can feel when doing something's wrong, and in certain instances, um, you know, and when we take action, regardless of how harsh the action may be, we don't do it to be feared. We don't do it to be whatever. We just, because if we create boundaries and those boundaries are crossed, right? Then there's always that warning mark, right? And I think that we always make that, personally, from my point of view, to demons and things of that nature, always make that we always let them know to a degree, even in our now more mature state of mind. Because when we were kids, it was different, on the roads and whatnot. But now, more in our state of mind, it's sort of like, there's always those warnings that you see, like SSH stuff, etc. That type of stuff of being like, to more hesitate to take it to the extreme to resolve and prevent specific authorizations in one aspect or another. Yeah, but for me, I don't like that though. Even regardless, because even though we set boundaries and people cross those, um, and in our unawareness of them crossing it, and then they continue to take what appears to be our stupidity for weakness and continue to abuse the thing and continue to not stop and continue to try to manipulate on a mass scale. It's unfavorable to us. Like, I don't really enjoy that, and I come from a very private sort of surroundings. I enjoy peace. I enjoy knowing when people are straight with me and not cutting corners, etc. Trying to be one step ahead always in regards to how they move, how they operate, what they say to you, what type of things that they try to do to deceive you. to deceive you and things like that. Most people would like to cause hype. You know, uh, defining what they're gonna do. I'm not really that type of person. At least not at my age, anyway. I'm not that type of person to do that. At least not like at my maturity level at present. I just do the thing, whatever it is that I intend to do. And when I set my intentions, I just go straight for it, and I do it. And if I feel something that's odd biologically, I always try to alter it and try to fix that. Because even though I don't know, even though I might be stupid, right? My cells and the wisdom within me is not, right. So I always feel something odd, like even just like being like a particular, not trusting particular people, um you know that type of thing. And energetic drainages and stuff, just because that people are looking and they have like this time advantage thing, that sort of the puppet mastery thing, and just like like stop. And and it's like people want us to like people want us to also envy them as well. Like that's their thing to the death, and it's kind of sad because it weights on you, and then you have to learn to fight and manipulate that. But like it's like pretty much like we don't really envy anyone, realistically, you know. In all truth and honesty, that's not what we're about, really. We actually enjoy or prefer people to be happy, right, and sharing that joy. But if people are not able to have joy without envying others, then that's definitely problematic in one sense or another. And in those situations, we just watch, really. We don't really say nothing. So yeah, make sure that before you perform any particular actions or things like that, you have that authorization, because it could lead to you being in a bad place, and people reacting in ways that you don't expect. And for me, the way that I always look at it, like I don't want to go jail for things. Like but I do, and another thing is, well, I don't want to have things on my conscience. Like even if I could do something and get away with it, I wouldn't. It'd be horrible on me, right? To have to live with that, right? If I have to, like let's say hit someone in the head with a baseball bat or something like that, right? I'm gonna have to live with that. Or if I you know X someone or something or some shit like that, right? I'm the person that has to live with that, right? Even if I can get away with it, right? So let's say I can get away with it, feds nothing, that doesn't really matter, and I manage to bypass that and everything's okay. I'll still have to live with that experience, because that's not who I am, right? That's not something that I would like to do. Like I would not enjoy that at all. So I try to avert things, and I try to keep myself to a position where I don't have to put myself in those situations. Even if I have to hurt someone, that's just so horrible, man. To have to live with that, and you have to glitch the experiences. And I know that people can try to put you in situations that you're not comfortable, in. Um, and that's just not cool, man. Even like just watching people be sad in that, man. Just it's horrible, man. It's horrible. Like when someone makes a mistake, right, thinking that they're smart, and then you react in a particular way, and then they realize their mistake, and then they become terrified, and then you have to look at them while they're terrified. That's horrible. That's not nice. I don't care how well some people are bad and they don't really mind in it. They get turned on by it, or at least they feel an ego boost from that. I don't. I feel bad. It's heartbreaking for me to make another creature, another entity have to feel like that. This is terrible, man. I don't know how other people can do it. But and I'm not afraid to say I don't have the heart for it. But that's not to say that I don't have the heart to do those things if I wanted to, or if I needed to, if I was put in a position where I didn't have any other choice. Though I'd fucking hate it, man. I would hate it so much, and I think that'll probably be the worst thing for me. So basically, the things is that when I set boundaries, when I set clear sets of things, is for that reason. It's for that. It's for that. It's to make sure that I don't have. It's to protect myself from being in situations where I may have to, you know, get myself in a bad place, ruin my life over some bullshit. It's not worth it. In general, and it's not worth it in general. I don't know how much time we have as well in relation to these things, But I just know that that AAA is there to protect us, to protect me, to hopefully protect my family as well. And in the event that the first two A's are compromised, there's always the last A. And then the super A, which is audit. So and when you use that last A there, it really gets pretty interesting. So yeah, so I trust and believe in the power of the triple A's to protect. And at least that's where I put my trust in, to not rush things, to take things at the correct pace and time. And I always imagine, or at least hope, that it's configured correctly. And in the event that it's not, there's multiple dimensions, multiple capabilities to make sure that it is configured appropriately. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And if I behave in any particular way that impacts any particular thing, that's because that I may feel, or that might be because of these configurations, these things here, be it in the spiritual realm, mental, or the physical realm. Yeah, pretty much. So just be careful, is what I'd say to people. And just, when dealing with me or any of those that I care for, my immediate family and my extended family, just make sure that these things here are correctly in place. And in the event that you're communicating with somebody that isn't aware of these things, then you approach a network administrator, or you approach an autonomous system administrator, and that would be the person with the most knowledge in that environment regarding these things. And then that's that. And hopefully, in certain situations, they would have given that power of administration, or they wouldn't have, depending on whatever variables are there. So yeah, so that's that pretty much. Yeah, and when that's pretty much it, man. It's like you gotta be careful with these things, and because some things are also interconnected as well, which is important and relevant. You know. yeah, that's pretty much it. I think I don't really have much more to add to this, though. I probably did have, but again, it's quite It's quite difficult to comprehend things. You only think about specific aspects or specific points after the fact that when you've actually finished when the recording is actually finished. But I think that pretty much sums it up. Um, yeah, for the most important bit. But yeah, the key thing is to get a Gaia subscription, just so that I can get back in the flow of things as well. Some interesting content on there and interesting people. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you also learned this as well for yourselves, so that you have that ability to understand how to protect yourself in those realms and dimensions. And those dimensions go beyond mind, body, and spirit as well. There's actually quite a few sub categories and etc. and all this type of stuff. But yeah, pretty much. I hope you enjoyed, and have a great time. Have a great rest of whatever it is that you're using to occupy yourself.